We're joined by Bryan Taunton, candidate for mayor in the mayoral runoff tomorrow. And Bryan, good morning. And we're almost there, aren't we?
We're almost there. Good morning, Jimmy Dale.
Good to have you with us today. And this is the final sit down with Bryan Taunton, candidate for mayor in the election tomorrow. And where are we as far as a campaign update?
Oh man, we've just,
we only have 30 minutes now.
we've over the weekend we've just had feet to the ground. We're continue to knock on a lot of doors and talk to as many people as we can, and bring them around to understanding of what we want to do, and we've had great success. I want to say this. It's been through this campaign process. The people of our city are so beautiful and so loving and wonderful, and they've been very welcoming to us as we've met them at their homes and in other areas. And so I want to say thank you to our citizens for that, and for the comfort and care you've given us through offers of water and everything else, and praying and so forth that you've offered during this campaign.
And you've lost weight too?
I've lost weight. I've lost about probably 15 to 20 pounds. Yeah. So it's been good. It's been good.
During this campaign, there's been ups and downs. There's been allegations, and there's allegations still flying around today.
Yeah, it seems like every time my opponent wants to come on, he's on the defensive, and he's got a lot of allegations he wants to throw out there. And honestly, I'm just not going to play that game today. Quite frankly, that's something that comes right out of a Washington bureaucratic playbook. Let's accuse someone else of doing everything that we're actually doing. But I will address one thing, and that is the allegations against Jim Heigl and the quote-unquote Sylacauga mafia thing. Jim's an outcast. He always has been in city government. And I didn't join him. Jim endorsed me. So, and I greatly appreciate that, because he's a fine man. He loves this city. And to accuse him of being a part of something like that is that's just gross negligence in my opinion. And indeed, if there is a Marble City Mafia, Sylacauga Mafia, Jim's been fighting it.
You've had several endorsements, however.
Yeah, we've had great endorsements. Jim's endorsed us, Greer Wright, Zach Mayo, Diane Thornton. The list is just on and on and on. We've been very blessed. Both candidates in District 5, Laura Heath Barlow, John Wesson, endorsed us. And that's given us a lot of favor. It gained us a lot of ground, quite frankly. It's been a blessing, it really has.
One thing that has been bantered about here and there is the financial disclosures, and I know you want to touch on that this morning.
Yeah, I'm really curious as to why many of our citizens aren't asking these questions, because this is a huge deal, Jimmy Dale. The facts are that I have been transparent with my finances and my campaign finances since October of 2024, when we first announced. You can go on and see that we filed every month and then every week accordingly leading up to the election. In the meantime, I'll say this. My opponent has said twice on your show that he personally put $23,000 of his own money in this campaign. And, the word was used, transparency. Well, there's no transparency, because if you put money into your own campaign, you have to disclose it to the state. You have to file an FCPA report. That's called a Fair Campaign Practices Act report. That's what that is for. So that if you put money in there, then everyone can not only see who put the money in there, but where that money is spent. So I'm not really sure why, since August 23rd, he hasn't filed, why it's not there. One would reasonably, assume, well, there's something there he doesn't want everybody to see, or it's not accurate, or whatever. I'm more interested in the reasons of why he hasn't reported, because again, if you can't manage your campaign according to state ethics law and operate in compliance with the Secretary of State and be transparent about that, how can we ever expect you to do the same as mayor? And that is a huge deal. He can't say he doesn't know how to do it. He can't say that he forgets, because we get a reminder on how to do it. Matter of fact, they will send you information to your email. If you need help, there's a 1-800 number there. So maybe he needs to call that 1-800 number. I don't know, but that's a major issue that should be causing real alarm.
Bryan Taunton, our guest this morning, candidate for mayor in tomorrow's runoff election. We began last time you were here touching on vision. I want to continue that today and allow you to share your heart.
Well, there's so much opportunity in our city, Jimmy Dale. It's really overwhelming, and having worked with the city so many years as I have, then I'm able to see the full spectrum of everything. And I'm able to address many of those issues because I've been exposed to them. I've been dealing with them. And it's a large laundry list of things I believe we need to talk about. So when you hear me this morning, I've got plenty of notes here because I don't want to leave anything out. And I'm sure that even still I will. But we've got to continue addressing the crime issue. Sorry, whatever you hear, we do have a crime issue in our city, and we've got to address it, Jimmy Dale. We've got to get back, make sure that we're on that flood mitigation. I've pledged that we'd put together that task force with 100 days, and we will. We've got to continue to focus on our current paving project, which we're working on. And more than anything, we've got to bring our focus around so that we can grow, and grow. We've got to grow industrially so that we can grow residentially, grow affordable housing, grow our geographic footprint, put in place that strategic annexation policy, and reaching out. Again, I think it's important that we work to do something in the Mill Village, whether it's annexation, whether it's what Ben Robbins is putting together. I don't know how that's going to play out, but I think we need to work toward annexing that area. We've got to focus on increasing our industrial footprint so that when businesses come here, industry comes here, we've got a place to put them. I think we certainly have got to, we've talked about again and again and again about our animal shelter. We've got to address that issue. We've got to get Stephanie Engel the help and assistance that she needs down there. Again, I mentioned Verley B. Collins last week. I'm glad the Housing Authority has it. I know there's some plans there, and I'm looking forward to seeing what programming the rec can help with that. At the same time, there's a huge wasted resource over there, Jimmy Dale, in the old Mountain View School that's there that could be revamped and used and utilized over there. So there's great resources that we are still neglecting. Then, of course, we need to work with the Board of Education. We've got to continue to see those improvements that they've been making there. See those test scores continue to go up. Get them the SROs that they need. I remember when I was a kid, we had programs, which they were federally funded, but we had DARE officers in our schools. I think we need to bring back those kind of mentoring opportunities through our police department and drug awareness, and continue in our school systems to advance our workforce development programs there. And then I think we can also work with SAFE on a greater level, not just on the Earth project, but there's some things going on there that I think a lot of you folks aren't aware of that are truly incredible, and you need to know about them. I had a great opportunity to have a lunch meeting with some other folks, Margaret Morton and Dr. Beverly Price the other day, who, by the way, is an exceptional individual, and heard a lot about or learned more about their workforce development fatherhood initiative and their workforce ready mentoring program, which is being run by Mr. John Chapman. And this is an incredible opportunity that we need to advance and help to grow, in which through various grants they found, they're actually able to help people who maybe do not have a high school diploma or a GED, and pay them $12.50 an hour for up to 30 hours a week for over a period of about 8 weeks to help them get a certification in a trade, and then they take them from there and help them find a job in that area. We need to advance those things. I enjoyed hearing from my friend Trip Dixon about the Alabama Mentoring Matters program and what's happening there. And those are continuing things that we can use to utilize in the the idea of that I have that I'm working through and still developing in terms of an urban renewal project that we need for our city, which certainly would include support for our hospital. And again, I say we've got to focus on our hospital and helping them advance in various areas so that they can attract the physicians that we need in our town, because we're starting to run short, and we've got to work toward attracting them. And then as a whole, as I stated last week, we've got to come back, make sure that we're promoting our city, letting the world know that Sylacauga is open for business. I think one great way to do that, a suggestion that Laura Strickland at the Chamber made, it's been, I think, a couple of years ago that I heard her say it, and she continues to say it, that the city needs a public relations person. And actually, this could be the individual who also runs the new city website that I'd like to see put up, so that our citizens understand what's happening in our city, so that the proposed resolutions, ordinances that our city council posts are set to discuss can be posted, so that our citizens can view it before the city council meeting. And that might serve to generate interest so that they might come and take part of that meeting and let their feelings about these proposed resolutions and ordinances be known. Then we've also got to continue to grow our nuisance and abatement program to clean up our city, the many vacant lots, the many empty buildings. There's been some progress made in that area, but I think we can be a little more strategic in how that's happening, and bring in maybe some more assistance in that area. And certainly, I brought up Earth a minute ago. We've got to continue to work closely with the Earth Project, because we want to make sure that those businesses that start here in Sylacauga stay here. And then there's something I presented to our Planning and Zoning Commission not long ago, and I want to circle back to that, and that is creating a PRZ. That's a preferred retail zone on Highway 280 from Peyton Boulevard down probably up to the mountain where Fort William Square is, down Highway 280, especially along that southern side of it, in order that we ensure that businesses that come in there are commercial businesses, they're retail businesses, so that we can capitalize on the greatest opportunity for sales tax revenue out there. We've got other areas that professional buildings can go, or maybe if a professional building wants to, it can be added on top of another business, depending on what kind of development it is, we could open the door for that. But we want to make sure that we can focus on retail development on 280 as much as possible, because we're running out of space, and we need to make sure that we protect that area. And then we want to make sure that we provide all of our existing councils, authorities, boards with utilities, everything that they need, resources they need in order to do their jobs. For instance, the Beautification Council, we want to make sure that they've got the funds that they need. I really don't believe we need another 501c3 foundation in our community to focus on beauty or whatever, to bring in industry. That's partly the city promotions job, which is done mostly out of the mayor's office. In terms of beautification, we have an outstanding beautification council with Tara Douglas, who is running it with tons of volunteers. If we're going to do anything in that area, don't try to reinvent the wheel. We've got a system in place. Let's just simply invest in the Beautification Council, enhance their capabilities, go where they're working, and help them be more efficient at what they're doing. I've often thought, you know, we've got ground maintenance that we pay for downtown. It may be a good idea to turn the management of that company and what needs to be done over to the Beautification Council, because they've got a clear line of sight, and they're in it, and they're out there working every day, and they can make sure that those flower beds are weeded, and the bushes are trimmed like they should be, and what this service is supposed to be taken care of downtown, that might be a good option for them. But again, I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. I think we need to focus on letting them do what they do and giving them every opportunity to be efficient at that, because they do a fantastic job. Now, obviously, Jimmy Dale, when we first get in there, there's things that, as I mentioned last week, that we've got to focus on. I don't think the mayor's going to have time to finish the city budget. We're going to have to turn attention to that. We've got to, again, work on that phone system because it's a mess. And we certainly want to make sure that we are doing whatever we need to do to continue our momentum and completing the new rec center and the pool project. We cannot afford to lose momentum. Our community has been waiting on this and waiting on this and waiting on this, to the point that most of you guys watching this morning probably don't even believe that it's going to happen. But it is. The money's there. In fact, we're already making bond payments and we haven't even turned over our first shovel of dirt yet. So we've got to get behind this and do what needs to be done to get this project moving, especially since we're already making those bond payments. And then again, I believe we need to come back and look at the idea of splitting that position of city clerk and treasurer, because this job has simply gotten too large for one individual. When we're talking about incentives and so forth that our treasurer is having to deal with, there are old ones, there are new ones that are being done. And let me say something just real quickly about incentives, how these incentives, especially what the Commercial Development Authority has done. There is no way our city's in the negative with these incentives. It's not possible. And here's why. Because we do what's called an Amendment 772 incentive, which basically splits, we go up to, not greater than, but up to a 50-50 split on the sales tax revenue that's generated by that business. Okay? And then we have a cap. So we take the wharf. We initially set up with them. We gave them a $250,000 incentive to help them come here because of the amount of work they were going to have to do, because they were building on virtually a duck pond. So on their site work, they asked for some help. We at first gave them $250,000. They found out they greatly miscalculated, and they came back and asked for additional funds, which we granted to them. But listen, that has a cap on it, and it also has a time frame on it. So one of two things will happen. That tax abatement, that sales tax split, is going to come back to them, be given back to them for X amount of years, say 8, 10 years. At the end of that 10 years, it's over, whether they get and recoup their full allowance of the $250,000 or not. If they reach that $250,000 mark within 5 years, well, then it stops then. It doesn't go any further. So when you hear us say, all of us who are part of the Commercial Development Authority, that we've brought in $800,000 annually now per year in sales tax revenue, that's after all of those incentives have paid out. That's even after any payments we might have had with Nextsite, who we recruited and are working with to help promote our city throughout our state and nation. So that's a true number. So those incentives really don't cost us any money, and they're important for our city. And I would love that we would be a city that we wouldn't have to do that. But Jimmy Dale, name me one. I don't know anybody in the state of Alabama that's flourishing so much that they're not having to negotiate and do business. That's just part of corporate life. You've got to do that. But then I would also say, I mentioned last week that I felt like we've been without a city planner since we lost Tommy Rumsey, a number of years. But I want to take that a step further, because I think we need something that's really beyond just a city planner. Now imagine this, Jimmy Dale. If we had an engineer planner. Now, what would that mean? Well, that would mean that we would have an individual who's in-house, and when we have people who come in and they're trying to remodel a building downtown, and maybe they're new. This is their first business that they've launched, and they don't quite understand code. They don't understand that they have to have an architectural rendering or something drawn out that can be stamped to ensure that it's good. Well, if we've got that individual in-house, we've got somebody that's there to help them with their situation versus complicating their situation, which is very often what happens right now. So if we've got that engineer planner who can stamp and give that stamp assistance to them for streets, for planning, developing, for construction, and that individual could also help run and expanding our nuisance and abatement and work with the police department in that. This could be a huge asset to us. It would also be a huge asset to a grant writer who is seeking various understandings of what's going on for the different grants that they would be trying to write, which I definitely think that we need in our city. We've got to put that individual in place. And then I think we need to make sure that we're taking a view at our long-term plan, our 25-year plan, and make sure that we're staying in line with it, that we're staying on course as a city, realizing that there is some fluidity to that, and if there are adjustments that need to be made, then we need to sit down and discuss those adjustments. But all of this is leading us with a hope to an exciting new level of possibilities for our city. And because you know what, Jimmy, we've got to change the heart of our community. People are so pessimistic about what's going on. We can't change the heart of our community by way of legislation, rules, and everything. We've got to do that by speaking to the heart and showing them and demonstrating to them exactly what we can do. And I think we can do that. And I think my proposal for an urban renewal initiative is going to go a long way in helping with that and focusing on that workforce development, job creation. I think we can also add child and young adult training and mentoring to that program, adult workshops in our community, working on our housing issues in our community. Again, coming back to nuisance and abatement and focusing on these rundown and abandoned properties and lots in our city. We've got to continue to focus on those public safety improvements. I think there's some areas in our city that could use some either stop signs or lights for sure. I think we need to focus on our commercial development authority so that we can create more small business support in our town. I think what Jonathan Douglas has been doing and his health and wellness program is great. We need to work in that area and helping to educate our population. A healthier population is a happier population. Continue to work in the areas of our cultural and historic preservation in our city, and our museums, through the library, our heritage sites. We need to focus on those and building that tourist aspect of our city also, and capitalizing on the Pinhoti and everything that we have opportunity there. And then continue focusing on various community engagement programs. I think again, the Parks and Rec is doing a great job in what they're doing there, but there's even more I think that we can do. Most especially when it comes to our downtown revitalization. I think that's a big part of our future, and it needs to be. We've got Broadway. It's taken some time, but Broadway's going in the right direction. There's some empty buildings there that need to be addressed. And there's an avenue, I think it may have to go through nuisance and abatement because they're just simply being neglected by owners who and very often do not live in our community, and they don't care. They just want their money. Well, we're going to have to address those issues. Julie and Alan Sanders have done a fantastic job in helping our downtown area. I think there's some areas that we might even be able to work with them and on some of their facades that are there. But that's all along Highway 21. That's a state highway, Jimmy Dale. We're limited on what we can do there. In the meantime, let's look at Norton. Norton is a city street. We can do whatever we want. Not only that, but it is going to be probably the primary entryway into the new Earth development, which will be on the left as you head north on Norton, and then the new rec center, which will be on the right. So this is going to be important to us that we revitalize Norton. And here's the thing. We can do whatever we want to out there. It's a city street. We can work toward creating a real walkable city. We can plant trees. We can put the lights that we want out there. We could put the street sounds in through there, because quite frankly, I get excited about it because we're only limited by our imagination and funding, and funding can be overcome by way of grants, by way of private investment. There's numerous things that we can do to help that funding. Now, that's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen like that, but it's a vision that could possibly change the entire perspective in downtown. And then if you annex the Mill Village and we revamp that area, moving back out there, now we're developing a real walkable city that hopefully someone could actually walk and feel safe from the new rec all the way out to our ball fields out there. I think that's a must-do. It's something that we need to look at, and it's an exciting opportunity for our city.
You're a family man.
Yes.
You know the importance of families and our youth in our community. Speak to that before we leave this morning.
Well, I grew up here in Sylacauga, and Sylacauga as a whole is family to me, Jimmy Dale. Having grown up here, my wife grew up here. We both graduated high school, went to college, and then our children are here. My grandchildren are here. And so it's important to me to see our city prosper, not just for my family, but for all of us. And there's so much opportunity here. We've just got to have the right leader that has a clear vision, that has the ability to put the work in to make that happen. And Jimmy Dale, when it comes to my family, there's no ends that I won't go to meet my obligations to them. And like I said, I count Sylacauga as part of my family. There's no ends that I won't go to do everything I can to serve you effectively. I've made one promise in this campaign, and that is that if I'm elected, I will be the hardest working mayor this city has ever seen. I've given out my number time and time again to doors, and I've told them, I want you to make me two promises. One, if you need me, that you will call me. Two, if you elect me and I'm not doing the job that you think I should be doing, then you call me and you tell me that also. I'm not afraid of accountability. I'm okay with accountability. Accountability makes us better people. And I truly, truly love this city. And I only want the best for this city. But I do know also that we've been regressing for a number of years. And it's time that we start moving forward. And to do that, we've got to grow, grow, and grow. We've got to focus on industrial growth, residential growth, and geographic growth, and make sure that we are instilling a sense of hope into our community. And that's what I hope to do. So I pray that you guys will get out there tomorrow and that you'll get to the polls and you'll cast your ballot for me. That you see me as a man who is determined to see Sylacauga move forward and to prosper. I've tried to stay above the mudslinging. I've not wanted to get caught up in that. I've tried to stay focused on the issues. I'm sorry that so many others haven't, and so many other, just quite frankly, silly things have taken place that shouldn't have, and you've had to endure that. But I promise you that if you put me in office, that we're going to focus on unity. We're going to put these crazy things behind us and start focusing on moving our city forward and accomplishing the dreams and hopes that you have for our city to see it prosper.
Bryan, pleasure. Thank you for coming by
Jimmy.
this morning, and thank you for allowing us to help you during your campaign. Make sure you get the polls and vote tomorrow, 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. Bryan Taunton, candidate for mayor in the Sylacauga mayoral runoff election tomorrow. That'll do it for us. Bryan, thanks again.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.